I want to make it explicitly clear in this section why they are important and cover some reasons that you might not have thought about before, especially today in the age of AI. Every SaaS company is built on APIs. Marketo, Salesforce, HubSpot, Gmail, Google Sheets, they all have an API that allows you to interact with their platforms. A great example of this is the Zapier automation platform. Zapier allows you to build automated workflows that get started from a trigger event, whether that's a scheduled event or whether it's a triggered event like an incoming webhook. So once your workflow is triggered, you then get to carry out a series of actions from all these third-party platforms. On the surface, Zapier gives you a nice drag and drop interface that allows you to carry out these actions. But underneath, whenever you carry out an action in one of these platforms, Zapier is using their API to carry out the desired action. So that's how APIs are used in the Zapier ecosystem. And I just want to say that it's a very powerful way to automate and streamline your workflows and repetitive processes. And some examples from previous work I've done. One of them is bulk merging 13,000 duplicates that I'd inherited in my Marketo instance. It would have cost us $5,000 to upgrade our database size in Marketo, and then another $10,000 to get a Cloudingo contract to merge all the duplicates. But I was able to make a Python script that could merge these duplicates according to our own custom rules. So this saved a lot of manual clicking and merging in the graphic interface. The second one was we gave our product marketing team a Google Sheet template that they'd fill out, and then they would press a button. And when they press that button, that would use the Marketo API to clone an email newsletter program template. And then it would populate the email within that program using the content from the Google Sheet, all via API. And then the last example is whenever there was a new piece of content that our product marketing team wanted to promote, they'd fill out a Google form, they'd put in a Dropbox link to the piece of content. Then using the Marketo API, we'd upload the content straight from Dropbox to the Marketo Design Studio. We'd clone a content tracking program so that we could then track the performance of the content once it was published on our website. So that's another automation workflow we were able to do with the Marketo API to save time. So you can see both of these save 50 minutes every week from repetitive work that I was having to do. And this adds up over time. So as I've already alluded to, it's very powerful when you can use APIs in triggered or scheduled automation processes so that you can remove manual and repetitive work from your day-to-day. So some trigger examples: when a Google form is filled out, when a button is pressed in a Google Sheet, or a row is added to a Google Sheet, or there's an incoming webhook. Another example is scheduled automation processes, whether you run those every day, every month, or every year. And then the last example of why it's useful. So these first two are kind of triggered or scheduled automation. But this last one is for batch or bulk jobs. And the great example is the 13,000 duplicates I just mentioned to you there, because instead of having to manually merge these one by one in the graphic interface, I could bring all 13,000 records as a CSV into a Python script, and then I could loop through each pair of duplicates and merge them according to custom rules. So an example of custom rule would be if there's a discrepancy in the lead source between the two leads, then let's prioritize paid search above organic, above sales generated, for example. So that would help us choose which lead source value we should prioritize on the winning lead from the merge. So we were able to build custom rules like this when we were doing the merging, and Python was a great orchestration method for us to do that because of the looping functionality to loop through all the pairs of duplicates, and then all the conditional statements that would allow us to handle the different nuances of how we wanted to prioritize different field values. And then here are some use cases. We've talked about some of them already: merging duplicates, creating an email program, uploading and tracking content, exporting lead activity data. So if you want to find the best send time for each lead in your database, you can do that, and I'll show you a blog post in a second on where you can find this. If you want to revert a field value across a lot of different leads, if you accidentally modified a field and set it to the incorrect value, you can revert back to the previous value that leads had for this field using the bulk extract API, or you can ask why did a lead MQL by querying their activity. And then you can populate program period costs, create UTM tracking programs, and you can clone programs every month, quarter, year. These are all examples of things that you can do automatically in workflows using the Marketo API. And if you want to dig into some of these use cases specifically, each of these use cases I have a corresponding blog post for in this Google Sheet. And you can filter on all the ones that are related to the API. So if we just go API, select all, this will show you all the blog posts where the Marketo API is used. So you can see that it's used extensively throughout all the blog posts that I write, which shows you how valuable it is to know about the Marketo API. And when you're trying to find the best send time, like I mentioned here in this example, finding the best send time for each lead in your database, that's this blog post here. And you can take a look through all of these blurbs to see what each of the blog posts is about.